Hello YouTube, welcome to another episode of Whoniverse Reviewniverse. This time I'm going to be reviewing the New Beginnings box set. Last time I reviewed a box set, it was the eSpace trilogy, so this is the follow-up to it, the three storylines consecutively after the eSpace trilogy. So, kind of flows right into it. Really, let's get started. Starts off with the Keeper of Traken. Just did an unboxing of this, so if you wanted to take a look at this closer, just check out that video. The Keeper of Traken, really good story. It's not really a traditional Doctor Who kind of story. There's no like fighting monsters. There's no anything like that. Well, basically, let me tell you what it's about. There's a place called Traken. Now it starts out with Adric and the Doctor coming back from eSpace into in-space, where we're all used to. The Traken is a place where they end up going first. The Traken is a place that's known for being the most peaceful place in the universe. There's a man that appears on the TARDIS in a holographic type image, and he's known as the Keeper of Traken. He's letting the Doctor know that his time is coming to an end, and there's some evil that he can sense on Traken. So, long story short, there's like a statue kind of thing. It doesn't really move that much. His name is Melkor, and he has the power to make people from Traken do his will, kind of like a hypnosis kind of thing. So basically, he's the evil presence that the Keeper of Traken is talking about. When the Keeper of Traken dies, the normal process is that somebody goes in their place. They have this place like a throne room that's all sealed in, and they sit on the throne in that place, and they're the ruler. So it's revealed that Melkor is not really a person or anything like that. It's not really a being, that there's something inside him controlling him. And I'm going to go ahead and give that away. It's the Master. Last we saw the Master, it was story number 88, The Deadly Assassin. We didn't see him at all in between then and now, story 115. So little break from the Master there. It's a four-parter story, like most classic series stories. It's the first one to be directed by John Black, and this season 18 had a lot of new writers, new directors, and so on to the crew. This is also the story where we first see Nyssa, the Doctor's companion. So the Doctor goes from just Adric to Adric and Nyssa now, kind of filling in the void that Romana left when she left at the Warrior's Gate. The Doctor is the fourth Doctor still, and we have him for one story after this, and that's it. So we're drawing close to the end of fourth Doctor here, which is sad to see him go, but he had quite a run. There are not that many extras on this disc. There's the Swap Shop, which, if you saw one of my other reviews, it was a show that was on at that time. It was kind of a different format, and it was like a prize. From what I can gather, it was like a prize-winning show where you would answer trivia questions, and they'd have celebrities on there with some nice little stuff from the show, like hard-to-find things, or maybe just exclusives that you would win for knowing this. And I guess a lot of kids watched it. They would have like kids call in and talk to the actors and stuff like that. The last one I reviewed was with Matthew Waterhouse, who plays Adric. This one was with Sarah Sutton, who played Nyssa. So it's pretty short. It is only 11 minutes long, and it's good. Then there's a pretty short extra. It's 8 minutes long, and it's called The Return of the Master, and it's really about the decision to bring the Master back into it. It goes over how they did the Masters come back, and I'm not really going to go too far into that because it's a really kind of a nice little moment figuring out how the Master really gets back into this. I mean, I kind of gave it a little bit away during the review of the story, but it goes a lot more deep than that, and it's really, I really like how they brought him back in. It was a really good comeback. And of course, just like every other DVD I've reviewed, there's a making of that's about 30 minutes, and it's called Being Nice to Each Other, which is really kind of a sub-theme of this. Obviously, the theme is of this episode is this storyline is a kind of disturbance in the field kind of thing, but the underlying storyline is the being nice to each other, that there is this place called Traken where everything is perfect, everybody's nice to each other, there are no problems, there are no weapons, no hunger, no violence, nothing like that. So, it's what every single culture has a mythos about. So, nice to add it to the Whoniverse as well. So, the second story in the box is Logopolis. Sad to say that the extras on this DVD are more interesting than the story, especially since this is the end of the Fourth Doctor's run. This is the end of Tom Baker, the longest running Doctor, and considered by many to be leaps and bounds the best Doctor there was. However, the story is like watching one of those movies that you watch the whole thing and you're really into it and it's a really good movie, and then the last 30 minutes of it you just sit there and go, really? That's it? It's just one of those. What's happening is the Doctor and Adric end up going to Earth. They're going to fix the TARDIS's chameleon circuits, which is what makes it blend in with the environment. This is the story that we pick up Tegan, which, in my opinion, is one of the better companions that the Doctor's ever had. So the story just kind of wanders too much. And it's not as intense as it should be. I mean, this is the end of the Fourth Doctor we're talking about. The end of the Doctor that had the longest run, and it's just kind of like, whatever. And there's just some elements of the story that you're just kind of like, what? It really doesn't make sense. So they end up going to this place called Logopolis, right? It's, and the mathematical equations they do here are so powerful that if you were to put them into the computer, it changes the computer. It holds the universe together. All this stuff that goes on Logopolis. Well, Master gets involved, and of course, it's going to be the end of the universe. So the Doctor and the Master have to work together to stop the end of the universe from happening. And of course, the Master has something up his sleeve because he's the bad guy, and he kind of holds the world ransom. He says, if you don't make me your leader of the whole world, your king, you all bow down to me, whatever, so on and so forth, then I will let the universe come to an end. So, it's kind of just, meh. I don't know. I don't really like, I like this story, and I want to like it so much more, but I don't. And the whole Watcher thing, if you watch this, you'll realize what I'm talking about. The Watcher thing, it's kind of weird. It's the regenerations back then in the classic series. For those of you who've only seen the newer series, the classic series, it's the regenerations are never the same. They keep changing, and this is one that I just really, and especially for one that's supposed to be one of the most epic things. And I mean, it is one of the biggest things that ever happened in the classic series. This is the end of the Fourth Doctor. I've said that over and over and over, but I mean, it was a big thing. And Tom Baker had been the Doctor. And Peter Davison coming on. The funny thing is, the extras on this have so much about Peter Davison, and it's funny because, I mean, he's only on the story for 10 seconds, 5 seconds, something like, not even that. It shows him and then boom, it shows the credits. So, I don't know, it's kind of funny, but it kind of makes sense that some of these extras with Peter Davison are on this disc and not the following one, because they're like speculating what he's going to be like. So you can tell they took place before the next season with Castrovalva, but they just kind of have that. What is he gonna be like? What's his costume gonna be like? There's a whole. Well, I'll go over those. So first of all, we have a mini documentary. It's 50 minutes long, so I mean this is almost like a full documentary called "A New Body at Last," and this is the behind the scenes of this episode, but it's also a lot on the regeneration and how big of a deal this was and how they did the regeneration and all that. And this is a really good documentary. It's a really good feature on this DVD. I mean, I think I'm more interested in that than I am Logopolis, the story. And like I said, I really want to like this story so much more, and I do like this so much more, especially in contrast to some other Doctor Who stories. However, it is... anyway, it's a good documentary. So, you have... Then there are two little mini featurettes called Nationwide with Tom Baker, Nationwide, Peter Davison. They're each about 4 minutes, roughly. It makes up about 8 minutes, two of them. And it's the Nationwide Tom Baker is one that is just an interview with Tom Baker about what's it going to be like, you know, the regeneration, you're coming off the show, and little things like that. It's only about 4 minutes, like I said. About as informative as it can be in that much time. Then they have Peter Davison, and it's talking about, you know, you're the youngest Doctor that's ever been on the show. You're going to be regenerating into the Doctor role soon. Tell us about it. A little tiny short thing. There's another featurette on here called Pebble Mill at 1, and that is a Peter Davison interview. It is 12 minutes long, and that's leaps and bounds more. I really like that better as the interview for Peter Davison. It's very speculative. There's a whole like paper doll thing that they have going over possible costumes that fans have sent in, and things like that. They go over, you know, it's just a whole bunch. It's almost like back then if they had a rumors website on TV and they invited the star Peter Davison to go over the rumors with him. I really like it. It's really nice to see, you know, things like that. Then there's some BBC News reports, really short. It's only a minute, and it's just little things on Tom Baker's wedding, Tom Baker's departure, Peter Davison's arrival to the show, and it's pretty short. It's nice to see. And I know I didn't say it on I was talking about Keeper of Traken, but all of these have commentary on the stories, audio commentary. They have DVD ROM features that have the Doctor Who annual, radio times listings, some PDF files, and continuity announcements, which are just like the things that are said over the credits at the end. We still have those in today's TV shows, you know, coming up next, this and this and this, but it's more on these, it's more like, catch us next time on Doctor Who for Logopolis Part 2, things like that. So, anyway, like I said, the documentary is probably the best part on this disc. But, I mean, it's a very important story to the storyline. It's a very important story to the story arc. It's a very important story if you're into the stories featuring the Master, or Tom Baker, or Peter Davison. And it's just not as good as I would have liked it to be for a grand finale for Doctor 4. Which brings us to Castrovalva. I really like this story. I really do. And especially after seeing the newer series with the 10th Doctor, his very first episode, The Christmas Invasion, in which he has this whole resting period that he has to do when he regenerates. That was kind of established in this one. Before that, you don't really have the whole thing. I mean, he's resting this whole episode, this whole storyline. in fact, in this one, there's a certain room in the TARDIS that he's supposed to rest in to regenerate and stuff like after he regenerates. And like I said, every regeneration is different up to this point. Well, they end up having to make a duplicate of that room that's small enough, and it ends up being like a coffin. So basically, the reason is different in this one. It's not in the 10th Doctor's first episode, in the Christmas Invasion. He's resting because that's just how the regeneration works. In this one, it's because his regeneration's kind of failing. So basically, Adric goes missing. The Master takes him ransom, or takes him as hostage, and the Doctor has to regenerate. So Nyssa and Tegan, and I forgot to mention in the last story, Nyssa comes back to Logopolis, but it's kind of trivial, except for the fact that she has to do with the Master, and I'm not going to go into that again because I don't want to ruin Keeper of Traken. But since she's in that one, in the Keeper of Traken, she's in Logopolis, it has to do with Keeper of Traken again, and I'm not going to go way into that because I do not want to ruin that part of the story of Keeper of Traken. It's really good. But anyway, so Tegan and Nyssa are in the TARDIS, and they have to land the TARDIS, completely by off-the-wall guessing how to fly the thing, and they landed on a place called Castrovalva, or near a place called Castrovalva. So this is a place known for being a very calm place to relax and everything, and it's a great place for the Doctor to regenerate and heal. They get there, and this place has tons of books, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding this place, and this place to me reminds me of MC Escher, and I don't know if it was supposed to remind people of MC Escher, but it really does remind me of that. Anyway, it becomes very recursive, the city of Castrovalva. You go in one door, you go out one door, and you end up back where you started on the other side of the city. So it's kind of, they find out that the Master, of course, is in on it. And all three of these stories are really good stories for the Master. I really do think that they're great. And it's funny that in this one, for almost the entire story, the Doctor is trying to figure out who he's going to be. The whole personality issues come in to play in this. In the entire 4 episodes, he is trying to find himself, kind of. And it's really funny because he keeps saying things like, you know, I feel like my old self or something, and then he'll correct himself and feel like my new self. And really, I think this is a good start for the 5th Doctor. Now, the 5th Doctor, in my opinion, has to be one of the best Doctors, and maybe in a future video I'll go over my favorite Doctors in I'll just go over my top 11 list. Some of you will get that, some of you won't. But my top 11 list, and why he is very close to the top, I'm not going to say right now because maybe I'll put that in a future video. Anyway, he's very close to the top because after years of Tom Baker and people loving Tom Baker, and Tom Baker even now considered to be one of the best, if not the best Doctor, by so many Doctor Who fans. After that, Peter Davison came in and was still good enough to be accepted. And I see that as a huge feat, a huge battle to overcome. He had to be good enough that he wasn't sort of a sophomore slump after the years of Tom Baker coming in and trying to fill those shoes. And everybody knows how critics are, especially in geek culture. So we all know how that goes. Anyway, I think he does a really good job in this story. Really good job as an introduction to him. Actually, it's kind of weird because we don't even see Castrovalva till part 3. First 2 parts are completely and the TARDIS and the woods leading up to Castrovalva and so on, so little things like that. So, but it's a really good story. Check it out. I'd say check out the box set. Anyway, there's a 13-minute featurette on here called Being Doctor Who that's Peter Davison talking about his approach to the role and how he went about starting out the role, and it's a good featurette. There's an 11-minute interview with Fiona Cumming, who's the director for Castrovalva, and it's called Directing Castrovalva. There's 30 minutes of Swap Shop and Blue Peter, which Blue Peter, I believe, is the longest running children's show on TV. As far as I understand, it's still on TV in the UK, and but it's both. They're both. It's interviews, 29 minutes roughly of interviews with Peter Davison. There's 1 minute of deleted scenes. So we also have an 11-minute featurette called The Crowded TARDIS, which goes over the different companions during this era of the Doctor, which is Tegan, Nyssa, and Adric. It's funny that they named this the Crowded TARDIS, because you really kind of think that, like, man, there are a lot of companions right now. So it is a little crowded. And Tom Baker has a little snippet in it where he says that it was a bit crowded and it was too much, where you really didn't get the character development that you could with less companions and more one-on-one time with the Doctor. He doesn't really say that verbatim, it's just my paraphrase of it, but pretty much that's it. So basically that's it. That's the introduction into the 5th Doctor and the end of the 4th Doctor, and great box set. And even though I kind of was a little harsh on Logopolis, it's still a great story. I just, I don't know, maybe I just wanted so much more for that finale and the beginning at the same time. Every time I watch it, I kind of have that just feeling where I'm so into it, and at the end I'm just kind of like, oh man, it could have been so much more. So, basically that's it. This is 1981 to 1982, in case you were wondering, and it's the introduction of one of my favorite Doctors and the ending of another one of my favorite Doctors. So I would highly recommend this box set. It's not that much money. If you were to buy it on Amazon, about the same price as 2 stories that are separate. So I mean, well worth the investment, and the extras on this are phenomenal. Well, that's it for this episode, and I hope you found it entertaining. Hope it's not too dry for you. On August 14th here in the US, we get the release of Spearhead from Space and The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. I'm going to try to do an unboxing of those right away as soon as they come in. I'm not sure what time they are going to be coming, because right now they haven't shipped. And they're supposed to be at my door on August 14th. And depending on who the shipper is depends on how early they get to my doorstep. So I will do an unboxing of those, and I will attempt to do the reviews as soon as possible. I want to get a very thorough watching of the extras on those, and I'm actually really excited to do Greatest Show in the Galaxy. I mentioned this in a previous video, but that is the story I remember the most vividly from my childhood of watching on PBS. So, kind of excited to get back to it, and I'll see you next time.